The types of internal communication styles. There are different types of communication styles within a business. Some are more effective than others, and it's important to be aware of them so that you can use the right style for the right situation. Here are 4 of the most common communication styles in business and some tips by Michael E. Weintraub Esq of ClinStatDevice on how to use them effectively. The types of internal communication styles. There are 4 main types of communication styles: assertive, aggressive, passive, and passive-aggressive. Each has its own strengths and weaknesses, so it's important to understand all 4 before deciding which one is best for your team. Assertive communication is direct and clear. It doesn't leave room for misinterpretation or misunderstanding. This type of communication is often seen as the most effective because it gets the message across quickly and efficiently. However, it can also come across as forceful or bossy, so it's important to use it in the right situation. Aggressive communication is also direct, but it's more forceful than assertive communication. It's often used when someone wants to get their point across quickly and doesn't care about how the other person feels. This type of communication can be effective in some situations, but it can also make people feel defensive and less likely to listen to what you have to say. Passive communication is indirect and often unclear. It can be seen as weak or submissive, which can make it difficult to get your point across. However, passive communication can also be seen as more diplomatic or respectful. This type of communication is often used when you want to avoid conflict or when you're trying to build a rapport with someone. Passive-aggressive communication is often a highly effective form of internal communication, according to Michael E. Weintraub Esq. That is a combination of passive and aggressive communication. It's often used when you want to appear passive but are actually feeling angry or frustrated. This type of communication can be confusing and frustrating for both parties involved. It's important to be aware of how you're using this style of communication so that you don't unintentionally create conflict. By understanding the different types of communication styles, you can learn how to use them more effectively. You can also find ways to improve communication within your team by considering the strengths and weaknesses of each style. Ultimately, effective communication is about finding the right balance for your team and your organization. Experiment with different styles and see what works best for you. Tips for using different types of internal communication styles. Here are a few tips for using different types of internal communication styles effectively. 1. Formal communication is great for conveying important information quickly and efficiently. However, it can also be seen as impersonal and cold. If you want to use formal communication effectively, make sure to choose your words carefully and be clear about what you're trying to say. 2. Informal communication is often more personal and friendly than formal communication. However, it can also be less focused and more prone to misunderstandings. If you're using informal communication, make sure to be clear about your intentions and be prepared to explain yourself if needed. 3. Technical communication is essential for conveying complex information clearly. However, it cannot be easy to understand if you're not familiar with the terminology. If you're using technical communication, make sure to define all the terms you use and provide examples where necessary. 4. Visual communication is a great way to add impact to your message, according to Michael E. Weintraub Esq. However, it's important to use visuals wisely, so they don't overwhelm or distract from your main point. If you're using visual communication, make sure to choose visuals that are relevant and informative, and use them sparingly. 5. Written communication is a powerful tool for conveying your thoughts and ideas clearly. However, it can be easy to misunderstand written statements, especially if they're complex or technical. If you're using written communication, make sure to be clear and concise, and use simple language where possible. The conclusions. When using any type of communication, it's important to keep your audience in mind. For this reason, Michael E. Weintraub Esq. recommends making sure you're using a style that will be easy for them to understand and adjust your approach as needed based on their feedback. With these tips, you can effectively communicate with anyone, no matter what their preferred style may be. Thanks for watching.